been a long time, but your boy is back. There's a lot of stuff that went on in the NBA that I didn't get an opportunity to comment about. I saw Jerry at the Hall of Fame game last night. I'm going to talk about that. Whole bunch of stuff going on in the NBA. A whole bunch of stuff going on in the NFL. But like I said, I've been away. I missed y'all. Yo, Max. Hey, Charlie. Did you miss me? Let's go, y'all.
Pressure is privilege. I'm privileged that this organization, they believe in me. They put their faith in me. This is the right fit. And never in a million years did I imagine not being a Cowboy once I put on this uniform and put on this star. This is my home. I'm not leaving. I'm a Cowboy. This is only the beginning.
You know, the fact that we're starting off with the Cowboys seems very appropriate, Stephen A., now that you're back. Welcome back,
Who
everybody.
wouldn't miss this guy? Look at this. This brings a smile to your face in the morning.
I only got one thing to say because I think it's very, very appropriate to say that on this particular morning with me being back for the first time in weeks. Howdy.
Howdy, Stephen A.
How do?
How do? And how do to everybody else. Welcome to First Take. Yes. Charlie Arnold, Max Kellerman, obviously Mr. Stephen A. Smith back with us. Guys, you ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. How about them Cowboys? Dak Prescott, he was not on hand last night when Dallas fell to the Steelers in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, because he stayed back to rehab a shoulder injury. It happened on July 28th. The quarterback left the practice field noting some tightness. And listen to this, he hasn't thrown a pass since. Still, Dak nor Jerry Jones are worried.
We're being cautious. We're taking it day by day. Obviously, it's 5 weeks before season opener. So I've got a lot of time, and I'm going to use that time to get myself ready for that game.
Let me assure you that I don't have anything to add to his purpose of completely rehabbing so that he doesn't have any lingering effects from this issue. But the biggest benefit from it is that I'm sure you won't see him throwing any more 70-yard alley-oop passes, practicing jump balls in the end zone. That'll let somebody else do that.
All right, the Cowboys playing it cool, but Troy Aikman had this to say about Dak's injury on last night's broadcast. Quote, the Cowboys are downplaying it, but I think when your franchise quarterback is missing the amount of time he's missing, I tend to think it's probably a little bit more significant than what they have led on. Okay, so the season's starting in 5 weeks from last night. Stephen A., should Cowboys fans be worried at this point?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, it's the preseason. It's the Hall of Fame game. He was only going to play a couple of snaps anyway. I understand that anytime it comes with the shoulders, there's a reason to be concerned. We understand that. But as far as I'm concerned with considering how nasty that leg injury was to him when his leg just separated, and we know how ugly that was, that left him out for the game for the rest of the season after 4.5 games. The fifth game into the season was when he got hurt. The bottom line is that that's the primary level of concern. When you consider that, I don't want to hear all of this stuff about he's completely healthy and ready to go and whatever. That was a nasty injury. And anytime you're talking about the NFL season, Max, being 5 weeks away from starting, 5 weeks is a significant amount of time where you don't want to go out there and rush him. You certainly want him practicing. You want him warming up. You want him making sure he gets those reps in. And I understand that that's not the case right now. So as a result for that, we could be slightly concerned to some degree. But I think all this does is buy time for him to continue to get his legs stronger while at the same time resting his shoulder until he absolutely has to get out there and get a rhythm. So as long as he's back within the next couple of weeks, I'm not worried about it. Now, if it's a couple of weeks from now and Dak Prescott is nowhere to be found, where we're talking about 2 weeks left before the season begins, then it's a different conversation. But at this particular moment in time, I'm really not concerned.
Even then, I'm not concerned. Barring a catastrophic injury, Stephen A., where he's going to miss half a season or something, I'm good if I'm a Cowboys fan. Let me tell you why. Let's say this is an 8-week situation. They're not letting on. Aikman's right. It's a 2-month situation. Let's say he's going to miss the first 2 weeks of the season. He can practice by then a little bit, but he can't play in an NFL game first 2 weeks of the season. What does that really mean? Cowboys fans, as usual, have their hopes way too high. That's why you have such a good time with them, the gift that keeps on giving. Who are they playing week 1? They're playing the reigning and defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucks, who have brought back the entire roster, and they're playing them on the road. Okay, they're almost touchdown underdogs right now. If they don't have Dak or if they have a compromised Dak, they have a built-in excuse. Otherwise, everything I just said about them, wait, don't the Cowboys have Super Bowl aspirations? Didn't their defense supposedly get better? New defensive coordinator, Micah Parsons. The offensive line is healthy now. CeeDee Lamb is going to pair with Amari Cooper, like best receiving tandem or top 2 or 3 receiving tandem. Not to mention Gallup, maybe the best receiving core in the league. Right? I mean, you got your running back, Zeke, lost weight. He's ready to go. What's the excuse? As you would say, Stephen A., no excuses, right? And what happens after they lose to Tampa Bay week 1? By the way, you know who they play week 2? A much improved Chargers team, a potentially much improved Chargers team, getting impact defensive players back off of injury. Justin Herbert in his second year, a new and presumably better head coach. That could easily start this year 0-2 with Dak, and that would be a problem. But without Dak, or if Dak hasn't been if there's a built-in excuse psychologically for the Cowboys, that actually helps them to start the season.
Well, like I said, I wouldn't go that far. I'm not going to talk about what helps them because at the end of the day, it doesn't work without Dak. All of those things that you mentioned doesn't work without Dak. We understand that. I'm just saying that coming off the nasty injury that he had, even though this is for another reason, him sitting down right now, and the shoulder obviously is an incredibly important component to the equation because you can't throw if your shoulder's bad or your elbow's bad or your arm's bad. Overall, I get all of that, but that injury was so nasty that I think any time that buys him time from being on the field until the games really count is a plus. And let's not forget, we're going to have an extra game this year. We're going to have an extra week of play in the regular season this year. It's now 17 games instead of 16 games. So all of those things get taken into consideration when you talk about exposing somebody to unnecessary physicality and volatility. And that's just the way that I look at it. Again, if this is a couple of weeks before the season begins, I'm concerned. But right now, I'm not worried about this at all. I truly am not.
One thing I would say real quick, because I know we got other stuff to talk about,
Yep.
The irony of Dak's situation, where he was an Iron Man to start his career. You look at the guy he was drafted with and compared to, right? Carson Wentz, primarily, he was the guy he was compared to a lot. Always missing time, this and that. Dak started 16 games, season after season after season. Why won't they pay me? Didn't pay him. Finally got paid, missed the rest of the season almost immediately, right? Played a few games. Wound up with an injury. It's not like now I got my money or anything. It's just the timing of it, and now may still be physically compromised.
Keep in mind, Max, he got paid after the injury. He went on the field last year and got injured before he got paid. They paid him after. So let's remember that.
After he got hurt?
I believe so.
I think might be right about that.
It was after.
Yeah,
it was after.
Yeah.
You might be right about that.
So what I'm saying is because remember when he got hurt, I was on the air the next day completely ticked off because I'm like, this is exactly why he was trying to get his money. So now here he is. He wanted to get his money.
That
you
seems
made him
like years ago.
Work,
You're
and
right.
then all of a sudden he goes out there and gets hurt. But to Dallas's credit, even though they had to wait until the 11th hour, 59 and a half minutes, they ended up paying him anyway.
That's right. And did that turn out to be a good or bad decision?
No.
We'll find out. So, Stephen A., all this being said,
to
do you think Dak is the quarterback under the most pressure this season?
Hell yeah. I mean, far be it for me to bring this up, Charlie, because I certainly don't want to do this to Cowboy fans. I mean, far be it for me to do that. But ain't they America's team? Ain't this America's team? Ain't that what we talking about?
So they say, although we did debate this yesterday.
Forbes got them being up, the top of the heap. They making billions of dollars. They're the $1 billion. They playing the $1 billion playpen known as Jerry World. They got the star in the helmet. Certainly the cheerleaders. Can't forget those. Okay. And then you got all of that stuff going on. And what happens? After all of this time, y'all been talking about this stuff. You got CeeDee Lamb. Still got Ezekiel Elliott. Gave Amari Cooper $100 million, okay? Still got Michael Gallup. Went and drafted Micah Parsons. Got a crew. We looking at you offensively. We know how elite you are. We're looking at you defensively. And we're saying you can't get worse than you were last year. And you play in arguably the weakest conference in all of football. So when I look at it from that perspective, I say to myself, excuse me, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. This is Dak Prescott here. This is Dak Prescott, star quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, who held out all of that time and finally got your money. Now, if you injured, ain't nobody gonna hold that against you. But if you're healthy and you on that football field and you don't play up to snuff, we gonna have some problems. There's no question. And with the spotlight that is put on the Dallas Cowboys, them being the star franchise that they are, There is no way around that fact. There is nobody with a bigger spotlight on them than Dak Prescott. And by virtue of that and all of those other components that I mentioned, he clearly is under the most pressure in my estimation, Max.
I totally disagree. The biggest spotlight's not always the most pressure. People can be watching you, but not, the stakes are not as high. The guy with the highest stakes is Matthew Stafford. Dak, as you just pointed out, Stephen A., got his money. He got his money. He got paid. They waited too long to pay him, but he got paid. Everyone knows Dak can ball. He's a very good quarterback. We know he's at least a good quarterback. He's got an offensive line returning, almost all of it, and healthy, which he was missing last year. He has Ezekiel Elliott, as I mentioned, lost weight and is running behind that offensive line. They added CeeDee Lamb in the draft. They have offensive weapons everywhere you look, and the offense will be good, just like it was with him when last seen. It was good offense. They had Dak Prescott, one of the best in the league, in fact. People know the offense is going to be good. He's not under pressure to play defense. If the Cowboys go 500-ish, a game above or a game below, we'll look at the defense probably, right? Parsons or whomever will still look at the defense and say, look, the offense is working. Why weren't they winning games? Dak can't play defense is what we're going to hear. We know that already. If they don't win the division, if they don't make a playoff run. That doesn't put pressure on the guy who's already paid. But Matthew Stafford has never won a playoff game. And we're looking at him going,
all right,
with that arm talent? With that arm talent, you never have? And we're blaming it on Detroit. But if he on the Rams, loaded to win now with everything he needs, loses a playoff game?
Let me help you out here, Max, because I understand, you've been going for a little while, and you don't get too much time out here in La. Sunshine, Southern California, you know what I'm saying? I understand, Max, I understand. But, I'm just chilling out here in California right now, because I got some business to take care of and stuff like that. And I'm right down the block from SoFi Stadium. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. I must confess to you, it's an absolutely beautiful stadium. I actually was supposed to go to a soccer game the other day, but I had one of those, Charlie, you would know about this, Max. I tried some microdermabrasion. I don't know what the hell the treatment is called or whatever.
You look glowing today. I knew something was different.
And my face was so jacked up, Max, I couldn't go out to the soccer game. Okay? All right? Now I look kind of good now. But the other day I was struggling really bad. My point is this, y'all. I'm out there and they talk about the soccer game. And they talking about Russell Westbrook and the Lakers, and then Carmelo Anthony came, and they talking about Melo and the Lakers and all of that other stuff. The Rams are relevant. I get that. But we didn't start off the show talking about that, Max. Because at the end of the day, the Rams, even though they're in the second largest market in the United States of America, and we know they're the Los Angeles Rams or what have you, and we'll pay attention to them because they're a legit title contender, make no mistake about it, led by Aaron Donald, the man, the myth, the legend. The reality of the situation is, when you think about the Rams? When football season starts. Unfortunately, much to my disgust, you kind of think about the Dallas Cowboys all year long. And because of that, that contributes to the pressure that's going to be applied.
Well, that's what I mean
Prescott.
By the difference between the spotlight and pressure. You're absolutely right. Spotlight's on Dak
that's
all year long.
That's what I'm talking about.
And in Dallas, in Texas, the Cowboys compared to the Rams in L.A., Rams, if you're no good, they'll just forget about you. They're not going to kill you all the time. I'm saying the way a player experiences pressure, that's personal. Right. Now, think about Matt Stafford. He's going, let's say they make the playoffs. They're favored to make the playoffs. Going into that first playoff game,
I'm listening to you.
They should win.
Go ahead.
I hear you. They should win. They're like a 60-40 proposition to win because you're playing good teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, 40% is a good chance you lose. He loses. Could you imagine? His whole legacy is on the line. Oh, wait a minute, Matt Stafford. We thought that was about the Detroit Lions. But actually, you got an offensive line, you got a defense, you got Aaron Donald, you got a secondary, you got receivers, you got a great coach. What else do you need? Maybe it wasn't about Detroit. Maybe it's you.
You need attention. Ain't nobody going to be thinking about Matthew Stafford if they lose or they lost. And then they'll move on with their lives. Dak Prescott loses. Dak Prescott struggles.
They'll blame the defense.
It's going to be a year-round storyline. By the way, I haven't, I was in the airport in L.A. I've been in L.A. I ain't buy any L.A. gear. But I got my cowboy hat, and my cowboy boots. I got
Stephen
them.
A., how many
I
games?
even got them with this. It's the spur on the back. Is that what it's called? Whatever it is on the
spur,
back of the boot.
I can only
got all of
imagine.
that too.
Can you Can you remember offhand how many wins the Cowboys had last year? They won 6 games, right?
Yeah.
And what happened as soon as the season's over? The fans believe they're going to win the Super Bowl the next year. How is that actually pressure? If they win 6 or 7 games,
somewhat delusional.
They're just going to come up with excuses and get their hopes up the next season.
Bottom line, Dak got what he wanted. He got paid 4 years, $160 million. And you know who else got paid?
He deserves it.
Steph Curry, also 4 years. His, though, was worth $215 million, making him the first player in history to sign 2 $200 million plus contracts. Meanwhile, also in the West, LeBron James has facilitated a new-look Lakers squad, corralling more star power with the addition of Russell Westbrook and also Carmelo Anthony. So, heading into the upcoming season, is it LeBron or is it Steph?
I'm going to say Steph. I understand what LeBron was saying the other day, and I'll leave that to you, Max. But I'm going to say Steph Curry. You signed. There's no player in the history of basketball that signed 2 $200 million deals. That would happen to be Steph Curry. That's what he did. And let me be very, very clear to speak to the greatness of Steph Curry. He signed for $215 million over 4 years, averaging $53.75 million per year. And no one on the planet blinked. Because we all know he deserved those damn dollars. He's Steph Curry. He is the greatest shooter that God ever created. It is that simple. And if anybody deserves this money, it is him. He is a sniper extraordinaire, the most elite sniper the game has ever seen. And he is absolute box office because unlike some people like Kawhi Leonard, he actually markets and promotes the brand he represents as well as the league. And so when I look at it from that perspective, and I think about what they had to go through the last 2 years, without Klay Thompson. Been 2 years. Now, I know last season was truncated because of COVID-19, and we get all of that. But the last 2 seasons, the Golden State Warriors have not had the services of Klay Thompson. And if I'm Steph Curry, who went to 5 consecutive NBA finals, who won 3 championships in that period of time, and I had to suffer what I had to suffer through the last 2 years, the only person hungrier than me or just as hungry as me might be Draymond Green. That's about it. They can't wait for Klay to come back. Klay can't wait to come back. And Klay, one of the top 5 shooters in basketball history, and a Hall of Famer already. The opportunity that Steph is looking at for them to reunite, with everybody talking about the Lakers and the Clippers and Phoenix and all of this other stuff. Lord have mercy. Look out for the Golden State Warriors. They are coming.
Steph Curry, I'm going to need a lower third for him pretty soon, the way you have it for LeBron, Stephen A., because I'm accused of being a lower third. I'm going to need one for Steph when I talk about him, the way you need one for LeBron. Great family man, philanthropist, et cetera, et cetera. Because I'm accused of being a Steph Curry hater. One of my favorite players in any sport ever to watch, a miraculous player to put your eyes on. I point out that something like in overtime, in a win-or-go-home game this season, it's not just that they lost. He scored 0 points. I just pointed that out. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a great player. But I point that out.
I just think it's important, Max, that you remind people at the time you had more hair, no crew cut on the side, and you didn't have any facial hair. That's the last time. That's when that was going on with Steph Curry. I just want to let the world know that.
No. I mean this season. This season, when they made the play-in game, right?
Okay.
The reason that doesn't even occur to you because it wasn't reported. No one noticed it. But in overtime, in a win-or-go-home game, this season, he scored 0 points, and no one bats an eye. Could you imagine if that was LeBron James, who scored 0 points in overtime of a win-or-go-home game? We would be killing him, and that's because LeBron is compared to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He is playing against a ghost for the title of greatest of all time. He's running out of time. He's getting up there in age. He has a super team around him, even though it's imperfect parts, but it's still super talented. You always bring up, if I say, hey, could Steph ever be the greatest player ever? You talk about his height, and you'd be right. He's 6'3". He's the greatest 6'3" or under player ever. But because he's 6'3", he ain't never going to be the greatest player who ever lived, right? He's already reached the mountaintop of what he's capable of doing in terms of his own legacy that way.
We thought that coming into last year. And look at what he did last year.
Because he's great. He was as good as he's ever been. And he's great. But he is not challenging MJ. That's what LeBron's up against. He does not have 6 championships. He does have a super team around him. No excuses. He is LeBron James. He's facing the most pressure, like we were just talking about, and he's got to be the most motivated.
I'm going to say something to you, Max Kellerman. I think you need to buckle your seatbelt for what I'm about to say because it's really true. You're right. Steph doesn't compare to MJ. Size and height has something to do with it. His lack of defensive prowess has a lot to do with it because he certainly was not even close to the defender that Michael Jordan did. But offensively, I can make a conversation that Steph Curry is in the conversation of MJ. We have never seen a shooter this phenomenal. Ever. Ever. And let's understand. He didn't have the aerial assault. He didn't have the aerial arsenal that Michael Jordan had. Couldn't finish at the basket the way Michael Jordan could or whatever. Steph Curry, we usually see offensive players, Max, and with the exception of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain that's over 7 feet tall and dominant because of their height and size and the skyhook, of course, we usually look at guys, and there's not a single player that we look at and we say Michael Jordan couldn't do that. We didn't see LeBron. We don't see LeBron. We didn't see Kobe, Vince Carter, or anybody else do anything that we felt Michael Jordan couldn't do offensively. Michael Jordan couldn't shoot like that.
Well, if you want to say...
Nobody could shoot like that.
No doubt. If you want to say foot for foot, Steph is the best offensive player ever, fine. But you know what else Michael Jordan couldn't do?
I'm not saying he's the best. I'm just saying that as an offensive talent, because of Steph Curry's marksman ability, because of his ability to just shoot with his eyes closed. We made a big deal about what Michael Jordan did at the free throw line, closing his eyes and hitting the free throw against the Kevin Tumble and the Atlanta Hawks. We are seeing Steph Curry shoot 40-foot jump shots.
Okay, let me ask you a different way.
We can't say anything.
Is there any universe ever where Michael Jordan could play overtime of a winner-go-home game and score 0 points in any universe? It would never happen. It happened to Steph. No one bats an eye. I'm not bringing it up to hate on Steph. I'm bringing it up to say the standards are different for Steph because he's shorter than a guy like LeBron.
Let's not just point shorter. Let's point the fact that, again, because you're relatively smaller, his movement without the ball, you're required to do all of that because you ain't posting anybody up. You got to run through picks and screens. You got somebody that constantly has their hand on you. You're not 6'6", 220. You're not LeBron, 6'9", 260. I'm just saying, the point is, the physicality can get to you. I understand that. So that's why I'm saying I wouldn't say better. But when you talk about pure skill, as it pertains to whatever your skill set may be, Steph Curry is in the conversation as one of the greatest offensive players to have ever played basketball, simply because in no era have we ever seen somebody. Yeah, we've seen spot-up shooters. We've seen jump shooters. We've seen catch-and shooters, those guys. But in terms of dribbling the basketball and creating your own shot off the dribble, along with all of those things that I just mentioned,
range.
There has never, ever been a shooter and I'll go back to days, Max, downtown Freddie Brown, Dale Ellis. You understand what I'm saying? It was before Ray Allen, Allen Houston, Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, and all of these boys, Ricky Pierce and those crew. I mean, the list goes to Andrew Toney. You remember that? I mean, the list goes on and on. We have never, ever seen anyone in the history of basketball that can shoot like this brother right here. Agreed. And that's the difference.
You both are right. You both make great points. We know that LeBron James is certainly the one who's in the GOAT conversation with MJ. But also, I will note that last season, Steph Curry joined Michael Jordan as the only other player to win the scoring title at age 33 or older. So there you go. Consolidated the whole conversation in one fell swoop. Guys, let's keep it moving. We have more hoops to get to in just a bit. We're going to be talking about if the Knicks are becoming more and more of an attractive free agent destination. Stephen A says yes, and he's got a major prediction. Plus, with all eyes on every quarterback in the NFC East this season, which of the teams should be considered the favorite? Could Stephen A. possibly pick the Cowboys? Is this going to happen? You'll find out. Keep it locked right here to First Take. All right, Camp takes. Dallas is the favorite to win their division at plus 115, but not far behind is Washington at plus 260. New York and Philly both have 5-1 odds or better, making this the only division where all 4 teams have odds that good. But before we get to the topic, guys, listen to this weird exchange between Giants offensive coordinator Jason Garrett and the media yesterday.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Yeah. See you in person. Yeah, we say good to see you, coach. That's how we do it. Well, Jason, good to see you guys.
Any reaction to that one?
You asking me?
Max, you can start. Yeah, it was a little strange.
Well, I would say this first, just for some context. Todd Archer of ESPN, who covers the Cowboys, said that he tweeted when everyone was like, "Oh, he just said call me coach." People were focusing on "Don't call me Jason, call me coach. I deserve the respect" type thing. And what Todd Archer said is, it makes me think that was maybe taken out of context.
Right.
Like he was saying, he says good morning apparently to the press, and Dallas anyway, he did this, and then he expected the press to greet him with the same kind of enthusiasm. And if they didn't, he would repeat it until they did. So when they said, "Oh, good morning," he was saying, around here we say good morning, coach, right? But the emphasis is not call me coach. It's like, give me it back. I'm giving you the energy. Give it back to me.
Like you say good morning, you should say good morning back.
Yeah, but guys, let's say he does want to be called coach. Is it that hard to call a dude coach who's the coach of the team? Like some people may be, he's not my coach. I don't have to call him coach. No, you don't have to. That's true. But if it means something to someone, if they really are proud of the position of coach and they respect it that way, is it so hard to respect that they feel that way and call them coach too? Does it really demean you to do it? I don't have a problem with it.
Well,
Max,
I know what we should be calling this guy right here next to me.
Well, I'm
in
going
the
to go ahead.
studio now, how about we call you Champ? You like that?
Yeah, well,
Good
you
morning,
need,
Champ.
Well, you
Two-time
do
Super Bowl champion Damon Woody here.
Yeah, you do need to recognize that I am a champion. There's no question about that. And Stephen A., wherever he is, he better recognize that I'm a 2-time Super Bowl champion as well. But I'm going to let Stephen A. go ahead and speak on what Max just talked about.
Well, you are a champ. You are a champion. I've never failed to recognize that, nor have I failed to treat you like that. I just let you know on First Take, there's a proper attire. There's a dress code that you sometimes don't honor. And just because you're a champion don't mean you get to violate that. And don't interrupt me again. Now here's the deal. Now here's the deal.
He does not have a tie on. Wait a minute, I need to know.
He's
got a suit. He got a suit jacket and a shirt, but no tie.
I'm pleased.
Does that
No,
count?
I'm pleased today. It's all right. But let me say this. Getting back to what you said, Max, I would recall on a serious note, fellas, years ago, one of the things that made Howard Cosell so famous, God rest his soul, was when he was interviewing Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali had changed his name from Cassius Clay, and there were people in the media that didn't want to recognize that and didn't want to call him that, and he refused to acknowledge them unless they acknowledged him by his name. And Howard Cosell said, was one of the first, if not the first, to say, I apologize, that's your name. You have the right to be called what you want. And if that's your name, that is your name. And so that went a long way with Muhammad Ali, obviously, which you can speak to more than me, Max, but I will say this to you. Whether it's Jason Garrett, whether it's primetime Deion Sanders, who made noise weeks ago and walked out of a press conference because they called them Deion or they called them Prime, it's not easy to become a coach. And when you accomplish and you achieve that title, more importantly, when you recognize other coaches who have established themselves in that business and they're acknowledged as coaches, you know what? If that's what they want to be called, they deserve to be called that out of sheer respect. You don't just walk through the door and become a coach for the most part, unless you're Steve Nash, of course, with the Brooklyn Nets, because that's what happened with him. But for the most part, that's not what you do. You have to work, and you have to work your way up the ladder and earn an opportunity to ultimately gain that title. And once you do that, there is no one in the media that has a right to call you anything else if it's important enough for you to make sure they recognize the fact that you want to be coach, because they certainly call other people coaches. Now, if you didn't do that with anybody else, you'd have a different argument. but in all my years of being a journalist, which now spans more than a quarter century, I have never encountered a coach, okay, that was in front of the media, and the media did not call him coach if that's what they wanted to be called. Every person in the media has shown coaches that respect throughout generations, and it is nobody's right in the media to sit up there and ignore that now because it's prime
right,
time
Stephen
or
A.
because it's Jason Garrett or anybody else. If they are a coach and that's what they want to be called, coach, that's what you call
Stephen
them,
A. Real
coach.
quick, Damian, I think you have the right to do it. You know, it's not like Muhammad Ali changed his name for religious beliefs and it's kind of disrespect. But it's rude. It's just rude. If that's the tradition and they want to be called that and you refuse to do it, you're obstinate, it's rude. You're being rude.
Their name is Coach Sanders, Coach Garrett, or whatever. They've earned that right. And Jason Garrett is a former coach of the Cowboys. And even I would call him Coach Garrett. Coach. Because he's a coach.
Yeah, well, listen, I think, just speaking on the Jason Garrett thing, context matters. And I think a lot of writers spoke on that it wasn't basically people trying to blow it up more than what it should have been. And Max, you spoke on that. But, as a former player who's been involved in athletics most of his life, I guess I've just been ingratiated in the culture in athletics where it doesn't even matter if it's football, basketball, baseball. I always address, a coach as, hey, coach.
Fun to say. It's a fun word to say. What's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, for me, it's not a big deal. I just look at it, you've elevated yourself to a certain status, and so I'm going to give you that respect that you deserve in that, in this particular environment, and I'm going to address you as coach.
That goes for high school coaches. It goes for any coach. Coach.
It's just kind of like commonplace. It just rolls naturally off the tongue, too. It's not like something you think about. It's like, oh, coach, hey, coach.
Right.
Okay, well, let's keep
just
it
like
moving.
You call Damian champ.
Exactly.
You say, hey, champ.
That's
and
it.
By the way, welcome back to the studio. I saw on Twitter, first time since what?
Since 2020, since last year. So, I stepped in the studio. I had to make sure my shoes was good and everything. So
I'm glad to see him back in the studio because I was getting tired of seeing that damn piano behind him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's Mozart or somebody. I mean, it's nice to see him back in the studio.
Beethoven over here.
Looking like a football analyst. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Steve, let me tell you something. When you come back from wherever you are getting facials and all this other stuff that you're doing, wherever you in that. Oh, okay. Now you want to humble brag? I'm in LA. I might import the piano right here in First Take and just start playing right here in the studio. Okay, because I got that type of clout.
At least you reclaim the house.
You ain't got the clout to bring no damn piano in studio. No, you don't.
Okay.
Try.
Well, you know the producer assembling a baby grand right now. Stephen A. said that.
I'm a champion.
Let's keep it moving.
Max,
I want to ask you right now, who's your favorite at this point to win the NFC East?
Look, I'm a Giants fan. You could take this with a whole mine of salt. I don't give a damn because I also believe it. The New York Football Giants are my favorite to win the East. They had an awful offensive line last year. Daniel Jones relies on his mobility and in his second year had a bum leg. They had no Saquon Barkley. They won 6 games. They won the same number of games, 6 or 7. They were right in the thick of things with the Cowboys and all of them. Now, what did they do? Their offensive line should be better. Saquon is back. Daniel Jones' leg is healed. They signed receivers. They have weapons everywhere you look. No, their offense will not be as good as the Cowboys, but it'll be better than Washington, probably better than the Eagles. No, their defense won't be as good as Washington, but it'll be better than the Cowboys, probably better than the Eagles. They're the most well-rounded team in the division, and they're going to win it.
Defense wins championships, specifically in the postseason, obviously. I don't know if it wins that many games for you during the regular season. Got to be able to score some points. And nobody can score points in that division like the Dallas Cowboys. With Dak Prescott, with Ezekiel Elliott having something to prove, I'm told that he's lighter of foot. He's lost some weight. He's got some quickness that he hasn't had. He's on a mission. The offensive line is expected to be improved. And then you take into account more protection for Dak Prescott. Obviously, at least a decent running game, if not a stout running game, combined with the weapons that you have with those 3 wideouts in Gallup, Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb. And to me, by virtue of Dallas's potent offense alone, you should win at least 10 games this year. And I think that would be enough to win the NFC least. I understand that Washington's got Ryan Fitzpatrick and they've got an elite defense. I know that. I consider them the biggest threat to the Cowboys. I'm not summarily dismissing the Giants because I'm a fan of Joe Judge based on what I saw and how better the team got week to week, even though I think Daniel Jones is still a huge question mark. I'm not sold on Sirianni. I specifically don't like the fact that he won't even acknowledge that Jalen Hurts is your starting quarterback. What the hell are you doing, Nick Sirianni? What are you trying to tell us? That Joe Flacco's going to be starting for you? Really? Really? That's what you're doing? You're already lying to the Philadelphia media, and they're going to get you for it. They ain't going to forget this kind of stuff, okay? So I think I just look at it from that perspective, and I'm just of the mindset that it's Dallas's division to win, and I think that they'll pull it off. Washington's a team they got to watch out for most, because Washington can pull some things off, especially if Fitzmagic shows up instead of Fitztragic. If Fitzmagic shows up, I definitely think that Washington could take the division, but I'm counting on him being as sporadic as he's always been. High one week, down the next, or whatever the case may be. And I think that whether it be by a game or so, Dallas squeezes out the division title here.
Yeah, listen, I'm going with the team with the best quarterback in the division, and that's the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. But I do have to put an asterisk on it because this, I'm going to be honest, this shoulder injury, it's kind of scaring me a little bit. I mean, they basically shut down Dak Prescott. And the fact that we don't know when he's coming back, they had the best trio of wide receivers, in my opinion, in the National Football League. But when you're missing this amount of reps in the preseason, I think that's disturbing. So that's a situation we got to keep an eye on. But I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys simply because they do have the best quarterback in the NFC East.
All right. We're going to find out if the NFC East can at least drop the least portion of its name this season. But, hey, we'll find out soon enough. Damien has to go read some music. He's going to be back with us in just a bit, though. But, guys, we have a lot more.
Hey, I'm not going to forget this Mozart thing either, okay? I'm not going to forget that, Stephen A. All right?
All right. A former Packer sounds off on Aaron Rodgers, saying his press conference last week wasn't legit. The guys evaluate Rodgers' sincerity. Plus, the best team in the East may be
Derrick Rose. Kemba Walker's a nice pickup. I still have concerns about his knees, not his game, because if his knees are healthy, the brother's good for 20 a night, and clearly he's a guy that can create his own shot, unlike Reggie Bullock and those other guys. So him and Fournier definitely can create their own shot and will help elevate the Knicks' perimeter play. As a result, I still expect them to be stout defensively with Mitchell Robinson. I don't think they've compromised their culture. I think that they're building something here. They're still not a championship contender, Max. I'm not on that wagon. I know better. Even though we hear. The bottom line is I know better. Let me say this, Max Kelly, because this has not been brought up. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I have. You know, it was really, really exciting watching Kevin Durant put on the show that he put on in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center once Kyrie went down and James Harden was hobbled trying to help out but really couldn't do much, and KD was putting on the show that he was putting on. But you know, as I watch these Brooklyn Nets, there's a lot of news that's been made about the big three and whether or not they'll get the extension. First of all, clearly they'll get offered the extension because if whatever Kevin Durant wants, the Brooklyn Nets are going to give him. If he wants Kyrie to stay, they're going to re-up Kyrie. He wants James Harden there, they're going to re-up. And if he don't want any of them there, which I'm certainly not saying is the case, then they wouldn't offer it to them. KD is the man. But what if they get offered the extension, Max Kellerman, and KD doesn't want it? What if KD wants to wait a year and just see how things unfold? What if KD, because he got this year coming up, and then after that he can exercise his player option to be a free agent. What if KD, Max Kellerman, decides that, you know what, I've been to New York and, Brooklyn nice, but, the Garden's just a different level. I mean, what if that happens, Max Kellerman?
I have one question.
Hey, man. I'm in L.A., Hollywood Walk of Fame is out there, Tinseltown. Some people say Land of Dreams. And, I just came from Disney World, Max. I'm in a fantasy kind of mood. I'm just saying. I'm watching Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm going to just see if KD decides indeed, because I know he's going to get offered the extension, I'm going to wait and see if he going to sign it. And if by some happenstance he doesn't sign it, maybe, just maybe, Max, seeing the city of New York act like champions just because their team got to the first round of the playoffs, maybe, just maybe, that made folks in Brooklyn, like KD, say, damn, that's all it takes for these people to be like this? I mean, the world is about branding.
I have one question.
World is about branding, right?
I have one question.
Anything's possible, Max.
Oh, I have one question.
Anything's possible.
Before I know whether to
possible.
get really interested or just to laugh my head off right now.
Right.
You know, I might talk to an athlete or an agent or someone like that, and you can't say that you've spoken to them, but you have certain information.
Sure.
And so I might present it a certain way on the air.
Yes.
And frequently,
We all do that.
Frequently, and I don't talk to as many people nearly as you do.
Right.
You used to be a reporter and still talk to everybody. This is what I need to know right now.
Yeah.
Is this one of these Stephen A. things where I need to read between the lines?
No.
Or is this is just delusional Knicks fan Stephen A.?
This is just delusional Nick fan
Oh,
Stephen A.
for crying out loud!
That's all it is.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me?
I'm just saying.
You mean to tell me that Kevin Durant, after all the injuries and they flamed out in the playoffs in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant, who's starting a legacy that the Brooklyn Nets haven't had since they've been in the NBA.
Right.
The Nets had it in the ABA with Dr. J. They were actually the last team to win a championship in New York when they were on Long Island, 1976. Dr. J. But in the NBA, he is starting a rich historical tradition in Brooklyn, moving them from the margins into the mainstream with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, a revitalized Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, and by the way, Patty Mills coming off the bench. They're going to set the world on fire if they stay healthy. He's already in New York, and he's going to leave it all to just go across the river for what? Why would he do that?
Well, let me explain. Again, I'll openly acknowledge this ain't no conversation. This is just me sitting on the sidelines. This is just me sitting on the sidelines observing. And I said, you know something? Kyrie Irving got the injury. That's true. We all know he box office, man. You walk through the turnstiles to see Kyrie Irving. The brother's a showstopper. He is something special to behold. But he got his mind on other things deeper than basketball. And by the way, on a serious note, major props to him. I forgot what it was he did in Palestine or whatever, in terms of getting some water and all of this other stuff. I forgot I don't have the article in front of me, but just his philanthropy and his heart is in the right place. And Kyrie Irving deserves a boatload of credit for that on a serious note.
Absolutely right.
But just speaking on the basketball front, he has his mind on various things. That ain't Kevin Durant. He just want to hoop all day, every day. James Harden, he ain't in the Olympics. He was in France, damn near getting himself in trouble. Probably not his fault, but nevertheless, you got your mind on other things. All I'm trying to say is that if you KD and you don't leave New York, all right, and you at the Garden, all right, I'm just saying, listen, man, here's the deal, Max. If he does, everything will tell us. Now, I know you sitting there looking like that, but if we hear weeks from now and Kevin Durant gets offered an extension and he doesn't sign it, which means he completes next season in Brooklyn, and then after that, he can opt out, what we going to be talking about? We're going to say, why didn't he sign it? What's going on here? We're going to ask that question now. We're going to ask that question.
James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin over here, Emmanuel Quickly, and R.J. Barrett, nice young players over there. I want to leave this team to go to that.
Max, can you at least admit this, Max?
Yeah.
You have to admit that you saw, because even you lamented the ridiculousness, the delusional, ludicrous mentality Knicks fans had, but you saw how crazy New York was off of a first-round appearance. You didn't see, listen, man, we saw a beautiful, nice crowd enjoying an electrifying performance by KD in the postseason. When we saw the Knicks, and they weren't even worthy of it in terms of what was happening to them against the Atlanta Hawks, you saw New Yorkers going crazy.
I'll say this.
Just a different level.
To answer the question directly, are the Knicks an attractive destination? The answer right now is yes.
Okay.
I'll give you that. The answer right now is yes.
Well, Stephen A.
They're building a culture, Charlie. Building a culture. And by the way, I'm Knicks first, New York always. So I don't root against the Nets under any circumstances unless it's against the New York Knicks. New York always.
It's the first
Knicks
round
first,
this upcoming season.
But Knicks first.
Stephen A., you
Knicks
have given
first.
hope to Knicks fans. I'm sure everyone out there is saying thank you. So I'll just say it to you. Thank you on behalf of all the Knicks fans for giving them some hope. All right, let's keep it moving from one big NBA star to another. The guys discuss Kawhi Leonard's future with the Clippers. Stephen A. with the shocking take on the Claw that you do not want to miss. Plus, Brady and Manning had more classic head-to-head battles than you can possibly count. And somehow, they're best friends. We'll tell you what Brady is now doing for his pal. And the guys react coming up next.
Beauty.
Is he the MVP or what?
Oh man, and I'm feeling the rain. Try me, must be out of your brains. King blood, feel it run through my veins.
Touchdown! Oh my goodness!
This is my man.
All right, everything works out in the end, right? Well, that seems to be the case in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is back, seemingly on at least tolerable terms with his GM, coach, and team, and he's backed off making any eerie comments about the season, so everything seems acceptable. However, Rodgers' former teammate Jermichael Finley does not see it that way.
Just knowing Aaron Rodgers, just the Green Bay Packer way, saying what they want you to say and things like that. That just translates in my mind. You know what I mean? I got my own thing going, so guess what? I'm my own boss. So I get to say what I want. So I think Aaron Rodgers is saying with the Packer way and the way to get him solidified as the highest paid player of all times. But why not play the game, though? If it's a business, man, just listen to the press conference. It just sounds so just cliche. If you see the posture of Aaron Rodgers, he's looking down at a paper, so it's something that he done marinated on. So, like, man, just being a guy like me, not a hater, because once again, I got my thing going. I am totally fine in life. I'm just looking at the 100 and the logistics of Aaron Rodgers. It just don't look legit. How about that? Yeah, it's just been a guy like me looking through the picture. If you wait to the 11th hour thinking about a deal, obviously your teammates are not forefront of your situation, and that's all I'm saying there. Not, like I said, not being a hater, just if you want to go into the grand scheme of the whole thing.
Okay, so Finley clearly not buying it. Stephen A., do you think that Rodgers is being sincere in his return?
Well, hell yeah, he is. I mean, he's basically made it. First of all, Jermichael Finley lucky that Aaron Rodgers didn't talk about him the way he talked about Gutekunst and the Packers organization. Then we might be having a different discussion. We all know that Jermichael Finley could play. He was no scrub, third-round pick out of Texas, was drafted in 2008, if I remember correctly. I would remind him, however, 3 of the last 4 years he played in the NFL, 70% of the passes thrown to him were completed. Aaron Rodgers threw to him, and 70% of the time he caught those passes. Now, he deserves a lot of credit for catching those passes, but a quarterback got it to him. That would be Aaron Rodgers. And then when you talk about the body language, or you talk about how Aaron Rodgers waited until the 11th hour, can we put things in its proper perspective, please? Aaron Rodgers, it was the offseason. Things percolated in the offseason, got his back up a little bit. Obviously, he isn't too fond about a couple of people in the organization. I don't think it's hard to imagine why, which we've all discussed ad nauseum. And as a result, once he was finally mandated to return, because he didn't show up to OTAs, he didn't show up to mandatory, mini camps and stuff like that. He didn't show up until he absolutely had to. And it was after he had wanted a trade, and they said, no, we ain't moving you. So he had to come back to work. And when he came back to work and you asked him a question, he told you why. So what if he had a little note down, below him where he was remembering each player that he wanted to bring up? Aaron Rodgers hadn't spoken in months. It was the offseason. It was the first time he was going to be seen by the media, and everybody and their grandmother knew what was going to be asked of him. Well, how's it is to be back? Why were you gone? What is it that you're feeling? And he just went right with it, and I thought was as real and authentic and honest as you can be about where he stood. He let you know, I'm here because I have to be. I'm not here because I want to be. I want to play. I love my teammates, but I don't like playing for this damn organization anymore. That's what he told you. What's the problem?
First of all, Jermichael Finley has to preface it by saying I'm not hating the way Greg Jennings might, because they.
I lost you, Max. Did you drop your microphone? Because I could barely hear you.
Yep, the mic dropped. Thanks
there you
for
go.
the catch.
Okay, see, I knew this.
Got you back.
Jermichael Finley, like Greg Jennings, when he talks, has to preface it, I'm not hating. Because people assume if you say negative things about Aaron Rodgers, you're a former teammate, you're hating. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But what we do know is Jermichael Finley has said negative things publicly about Aaron Rodgers in the past. Aaron Rodgers has not returned fire. He said positive things about Jermichael Finley, but that just may be the way Jermichael Finley feels. If you're on a team and you're dealing with 100 different people, not everyone is going to like everyone, even the most popular, likable people. You're going to rub some people the wrong way, whatever that is, right? Okay, that's fine. To suggest, though, that Rodgers is not being sincere somehow seems off to me. That does not sound like the right note to me. Like, Rodgers sounds to me like he's hitting the right note. Stephen A., I have given Tom Brady credit for leadership and decision-making. The reason he's the GOAT is he's been the greatest leader and the quickest and best decision maker. He makes the most good decisions and the fewest bad ones, it seems to me. That's the secret to his success, because he doesn't have the talent Rodgers has, right? And I will give Brady credit for leading in this way again. He blazed the trail that showed Aaron Rodgers the way. Aaron Rodgers, to me, it's pretty clear, saw what Brady did. And by the way, Brady's more himself now in Tampa, right? And it's fun, it's nice to see. And he sounds like he's not holding back, he's just doing his own thing. Rodgers is now, Stephen A., to me, talking a bit like the handcuffs are a bit off. Not like he has to be fake. What'd he say about Gutekunst? He said, look, we have a relationship, it's not where it needs to be, and because Gutekunst, it's like when you call someone, if you're really sincere with them and you're back and forth, good communication, you don't talk for a couple months, it's like rolling out of bed, you can talk again. But when it's forced, if I'm just on his to-do list, and I'm paraphrasing here, then it's forced, it's not the same thing. That's not being insincere. He's laying the blue. I think it's very unlikely he stays in Green Bay.
Very mature, actually.
Yes, he's giving them the blueprint. He's saying, look, this is the way I'd like to be dealt with. Now, if the organization, if Gutekunst, for example, is just the type of dude who's like, that's just not me, well, not everyone is for everyone. Then they can't be together. That's okay. But to suggest that Rodgers is somehow being insincere, I'm not questioning Jermichael Finley's sincerity. I'm saying that just feels wrong to me based on how it feels, and everyone knows how does it feel when you listen to a guy, right? Stephen and I talk about Cam Newton sometimes, early in his career especially, or Alex Rodriguez early. There are some athletes where they feel so uncomfortable in their own skin, it seems, when they're talking. You get uncomfortable watching them. That's not what I get from Aaron Rodgers right now. I get a cat who is much more comfortable in his own skin, just telling you the truth. So I'm not questioning Finley's motives. I just don't think he's right about this.
I'm with you.
Okay, well, for any of the haters that may be left of Aaron Rodgers, I encourage you to go online and find the trick shot that he hit in practice this week. His accuracy on 100%. Ridiculous. It is a good one. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving. We have more NFL to get to. Kirk Cousins' words went viral yesterday after he commented on Kirk Cousins was subjected to the league's COVID-19 protocols as of Saturday after rookie Kellen Mond tested positive for the virus. Cousins was deemed a high-risk close contact and had to isolate for 5 days before being able to return to practice. Now, according to the NFL and NFL Players Association protocols, a high-risk close contact designates that a player is also unvaccinated. Still, Cousins has no plans to get vaccinated, despite being a close contact and being held out of practice. Listen.
I think the vaccination decision is a private, very private health matter for me, and I'm going to keep it as such. I do believe that as a leader of the team, it's very important to follow the protocols to avoid this close contact, because that is what it's going to come down to, is did you have a close contact? And so I'm going to be vigilant about avoiding a close contact. I've even thought about, should I just set up literally plexiglass around where I sit so that this could never happen again? I've thought about it, because I'm going to do whatever it takes. We're going to avoid this close contact thing, and I look forward to making sure I'm playing for every game this year.
Okay, the NFL, they've made it clear it wants players to be vaccinated, but they have not made it obligatory. There's no mandate in place yet. In order for a mandate to happen, they need to have approval from the players' union, which also has not happened. So all other NFL employees, including coaches, scouts, and front office staffs, are required, on the other hand, to be vaccinated. Max, what's your reaction to Kirk's comments?
He's going to put a plexiglass. What's that? The fortress of ignorance.
Yeah.
Was that an ignorance chamber? You know, I understand. I'm trying to understand when people say this is a very private and personal. Getting a vaccination during a public health crisis, where the issue is the spread of the disease. Remember when we were all locked down, which is coming again soon, apparently, right? How everyone's praying for a miracle. If only there was some way out. And now we have a very, very effective vaccine. And there are millions and millions of people who don't want to get it, and public figures are saying it's a very private and personal decision. Stephen A., I am sensitive to the fact that just because I may not be able to fathom what is personal or private about it, that would prevent someone from just saying, yes, I'm getting the vaccine, doesn't mean that there may not be a reason, just because I can't imagine what it is. But I just want to be very plain. I cannot imagine what it is. What I suspect it is, well, let me put it this way. There's no science supporting why you shouldn't get the vaccine. Not. There's anti-intellectualism. There's hocus pocus. There are people who think that they're amateur sleuths on the internet, and they're going to find that with their common sense, they're going to know more than the health experts. I want to say what Anthony Fauci, Stephen A., who's been somehow politicized by lunatics on the political fringe. This guy's been advisor to every president, since the 1980s. That includes Ronald Reagan and H.W. Bush, and recently Trump and everybody. If we don't crush the outbreak to the point of getting the overwhelming proportion of the population vaccinated, the virus will continue to smolder through the fall into the winter, giving it ample chance to get a variant. There's a variant, there could be a variant that's lingering out there that can push aside Delta, meaning more deadly, more transmissible than Delta, which is the big fear now. The point is to get out of this. Fauci points to the 93 million Americans who are eligible to get the vaccine who still haven't. We're all in this thing together. And obstinate nonsense, magical thinking, hocus pocus, anti-vax, anti-science nonsense has become extremely dangerous. So when a public figure like Kirk Cousins or Cam Newton says that's a personal, private matter, I'd love anyone to give me a single example of how that could possibly be true, because I cannot imagine what it is.
Now, I don't want to get into the weeds with you about this. I'm not going to call anybody that opposes the Dr. Fauci lunatics and stuff like that. What I will say is that I'm aware of the arguments that he and Senator Rand Paul, for example, have been getting into, and that's for them to debate, because Rand Paul, last time I checked, not only is he a senator, but I think he was a doctor as well. So
not an immunologist.
I understand that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have no problem with questions. I think questions are important. I think probing and interrogating and asking questions and making sure that whatever mandates are handed down, people really scrutinizing it. I don't have any problem with the questions. I just want to throw that out as a little nugget, because for the most part, Max, I'm riding with you 1,000%. I'm going to go a step further. I'm appalled by what Kirk Cousins just said. I'm appalled by the fact that he's in a position that he's in and he would utter such ridiculousness. The reality of the situation is that we're going through a global pandemic. You have a chance of spreading it. Somebody may have spread it to you. That's why you were basically with safety protocols and away from the team for 4 days, which Kirk Cousins says is the first time that's ever happened in his career. I'm also siding with my brother Michael Irvin, who was on the record weeks ago talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how they could potentially be jeopardizing their chances. He said, I'm not about left wing or white or right wing. I'm about the ring. That's what I'm about. And the slightest thing that could happen here could take you out for a week, 2 weeks, or longer, and you literally could jeopardize your championship, your chances at a championship. I'm riding with Michael Irvin on that. And furthermore, I'd like to state this. I'm a proponent of the NFL. Of course, you got to collectively bargain this. We all understand that. You can't just mandate it. You got to work with the Players Association. But I'm down with them mandating that you be vaccinated or you not be in the league. You not play. And I'm going to tell you why. For those that would challenge me on this, Max Kellerman, in front of me, I have an article from the New York Times that was written, I don't know if it was, I don't even know if it's today or yesterday or whatever. Here's the deal. Here's what it says, Max. As many as 7 million federal workers are now required to show proof of vaccination under new guidelines announced by President Biden in late July. If they do not, they have to follow strict rules on mandatory masking, weekly testing, and social distancing. Let's also be clear. Why am I bringing that up, Max? Because do you know that when it comes to an employer, the short answer, can an employer require you to get the vaccination? Yes, they can. You've got Walmart, the nation's largest, I'm reading from an article here, nation's largest private employer is requiring that a good chunk of its workers, an estimated 1.6 million, including those at its headquarters, receive vaccination. Here at the Walt Disney Company, Google, Facebook, Tyson Foods, Uber, or some of the other large companies are requiring at least some of their employees to be vaccinated. The NFL is a private industry. You know, you don't have to play football. You can go home. But when you have the opportunity to be vaccinated, when evidence shows that more than 99% of our population that is being hospitalized as we speak are among the unvaccinated, when you receive the vaccine and as a result, because of it, hospitalizations and deaths have dramatically decreased, and you take into account that we have certain segments of this world's population starving for a vaccine that we have at our disposal, free, right here, to the point where you got a concert last night or the night before in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, Kanye West. And literally at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, they were offering free vaccines, offering folks to get vaccinated at the event if they so choose. When you got all of that going on, because the Delta variant exists, and you're trying to prevent the spread of it, and you got folks that are walking around and don't want to be vaccinated, well, guess what? It's perfectly within my right, particularly as an employer in the private sector, to sit up there and say, you don't need to be a part of this.
100%.
Because if Kirk Cousins somehow, some way were to get this, he ain't gonna contaminate some players. When you talking in a huddle, Max, you gonna be 20 feet away from them in the huddle?
Stephen
This is ridiculous.
100%. Everything you said was spot on. And let me just further say, you know the least vaxxed team in the league? What do we always say about quarterbacks, right? They're the CEO of they're the face of the franchise. Right. Is it coincidental? Maybe it is. I don't know. Is it coincidental that Kirk Cousins has this position and that's the least vaxxed team in the league?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Oh, by the way, Max and Charlie, just so y'all know, just read an article this morning. CNN announced that they have terminated 3 employees who kept showing up to work and were not vaccinated. He said they have been terminated. They are no longer a part. I just read it in the article
so
here.
Much of this, too, Stephen A., is the information high quality or not? Do you trust the source? I just want to say about Fauci quickly, who we've had on this show.
Yes.
He is a trusted, publicly, politically neutral advisor to every president since Ronald Reagan, the Republicans and the Democrats, including the last president, the most recent president. He is the leading expert in the field, an immunologist. He is not a grandstanding politician who was once an eye doctor.
I'm not here to debate that. I'm not even here to refute it. I like Dr. Fauci. I appreciate his work. But there are others who would challenge objectivity, and they have a right to feel the way that they feel, and we'll leave that up to them to decide.
But no serious people in his field.
But this is a really good conversation. Hopefully everybody was listening because you both
you're an
made
employee,
very
you
good
got a
points.
right. If I'm the NFL, I'm mandated,
100%.
or you can't even play.
All right.
And the NBA.
Let's move on, guys. We got to go. Still to come on First Take, Jerry Jones' surprising words from yesterday's. Okay. Now, when Peyton Manning is enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Sunday, he'll have support from one of his best friends, who also happened to be one of his toughest rivals. Tom Brady plans to leave training camp to fly in and sit in Manning's section to show support for the future Hall of Famer. Now, here is how deep this rivalry runs. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning faced off 17 times in their careers. Brady won 11 of those meetings, but Manning holds a 3-2 edge in the playoffs, including winning their last 3 postseason games against each other. Wow, I like this little friendship we got going on here.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
I just wanted to interrupt before we get into this subject to piggyback off of the COVID discussion really quick. One of my sources in the league just reminded me of something, Max and Damian and Charlie, and they talked about how the commissioner essentially the commissioners in the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, the National Hockey League, and Major League Baseball should all and could all invoke the, quote, best interest of the game clause and mandate all employees be vaccinated.
Bypassing the unions, you're saying?
That's what I'm being told.
Oh,
You still have to discuss it. You still have to discuss it, but that best interest of the game clause, essentially what they're saying is that is a part of the league. Whether it's a part of collective bargaining or not, it is a part of the league. And because we're talking about contagiousness or contagion and, you know, possibly infecting other people, the best interest of the game clause is something that could be invoked by all the professional sports leagues to mandate people get vaccinated.
And by the way, because I know this gets a reaction real quick, none of us are suggesting, this is America, none of us are suggesting anyone could make you stick something in your arm you don't want there. 100%. None of us are suggesting that.
Nobody.
Then stay home. We are saying stay, you know, then don't
Just don't play.
the rest of us. That's it.
Don't play.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's now welcome Damian Woody, a.k.a. Mozart, back to the show. Hey, Stephen A., what's your reaction to seeing these two together, Brady and Manning?
Brady, well, first of all, let me say this. I'm very much looking forward to Peyton Manning's speech because I think Peyton Manning's hilarious. Peyton Manning is really. Let me tell y'all something right now. I strongly suggest folks go back and watch Peyton Manning when he showed up on Saturday Night Live years ago. That was hilarious. Remember the scene, Damien, when he was teaching kids how to, because you know he had this pristine image and all of this other stuff, and they had him how to jack a car, and then Peyton Manning screamed at the kids, 5-0, 5-0, and they all, it was hysterical. It was hysterical. You know, it was hilarious. You know, I'm just saying stuff like that. Peyton Manning's a funny dude, and with Tom Brady there, I think we're gonna see the best come out in Peyton Manning. But in terms of their matchup, look, man, you're talking about a guy in Peyton Manning that has a 6-11 record against Tom Brady, okay? 6-11. But people forget he lost the first 6 times to Tom Brady, which basically means he won 6 of the last 11 meetings against Tom Brady, including 3 playoff games. So it's closer than you think when you compare the two. But Peyton Manning's an all-time great. We know that, with a great personality. And I just think, once again, it's Tom Brady doing the right thing because, they're obviously cool, profound respect for one another. What they both accomplished at this game is to not be questioned. And it's only apropos that if you're Peyton Manning and you're going into the Hall of Fame, as far as I'm concerned, any elite quarterback in this day and age should be in attendance to watch Peyton Manning give his speech because he was truly the standard for a long time, and he was a phenomenal quarterback, and he was class personified, and he put this league, he just highlighted and promoted this league in very pristine fashion. I think they all should be there.
I'll say this about Peyton Manning. He's easily the best regular season player in the history of football. He's like, who's better than Peyton Manning in the regular season? And the thing about the difference between him and Brady had the stronger arm, but Peyton we all just knew was better, right? You see him in he's just better than Brady until it got to the playoffs. And then so much of that was like, well, Brady's got Belichick. But still it's hard not to think that the dude who's winning when it counts most is better than the other dude, right? And that was Brady. Brady's the guy you wanted with the game on the line. But I felt like, but I'm being manipulated by the circumstances. It's really Belichick. Peyton's probably still better. What if Belichick had Peyton? And that's why Brady really had to leave New England. Because when he went out and won the Super Bowl year one, he didn't make a deep playoff run. He won the Super Bowl year 1 in Tampa. It's like, oh, excuse me. And now Brady is the unquestioned GOAT, right? No one questions it. Greater than Montana, Peyton, anyone you want to bring up. I just want to remind people, through a lot of their careers, that was not the case. Through, I'd say, at least 2/3, 3/4 of their careers, if you liked Brady over Peyton, you felt almost like you were getting away with something. Like, Peyton is the dude, man. You hear former NFL players defenders talk about going up against Peyton Manning. Until the playoffs, at least, it's like, oh, that guy was the best ever. So Brady, the GOAT, now it seems so clear. Throughout a big chunk of Peyton Manning's career, it was not so clear. Peyton Manning was on another level.
Yeah, listen, you want to know how someone really respects another player? The fact that Tom Brady in training camp is taking time out of training camp to go to Canton, Ohio for Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame induction. Think about that. We're not talking about a former teammate. We're talking about two rivals. And he has that much respect for Peyton Manning to say, you know what, I need to take time out of training camp with my team to go make sure I watch one of the greatest of all time be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was there in the early part of the rivalry with the Patriots and the Colts. And I can tell you, when Peyton Manning was on the field, guys watched. Guys on the sideline watched. I damn sure watched. Tom watched. Everybody watched because Peyton was so unique in that he was the offensive coordinator. How many teams would entrust a quarterback to basically run the show and tell the actual offensive coordinator, get the hell out of the way, I'm going to operate this show, and I'm going to do it on a level that, quite honestly, few, if none, have ever done in the National Football League. And he did it at such a high level for, a decade plus. That's crazy. And so, again, I'm just going to emphasize Tom Brady took time out of training camp to go to Canton, Ohio to watch Peyton Manning get inducted.
It's pretty special, and I grew up in Indianapolis, so Peyton Manning's actually the reason that I came to love football. I grew up watching him, but not only that, but he was just a really respected guy in our community as well. I mean, there's the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital in Indianapolis. I would go trick-or-treating at his house. He lived right down the street from my best friend. And not only did he hand out king-size candy bars, but what I thought was really cool is he didn't even have a gate up around his house, which really kind of just shows his down-to-earthness. He was very humble, didn't see himself above anybody else, and I think that this is just showing to continue his legacy. It is what it is because of that.
From a neighbor.
He deserves a lot. He deserves a lot of credit for it, but on a serious level, I got to tell you, the entire Manning family is like class personified. I mean, if you really, really look at them. Damien, I remember one time I was hosting Michael Kay's show. He was on vacation, and I did the Michael Kay show, and it was a weekly appearance from Eli Manning. And Eli Manning obviously was the quarterback of the New York Giants at the time. And you know how he is. You host a show and what have you, and your publicist or the media relations people call in and all of this other stuff. And they said, Steven, could you go to commercial? I said, why? They were like, Eli Manning's on hold. I said, we got another 7 minutes. They said, we know he's waiting. He called early. I like, really? Damn. I said, you mean his publicist? They said, no, him. This is how they are. When you look at the Manning family, on the field, off the field, you continuously hear about their professionalism, their decorum, their class. And in Peyton Manning's case, he's also very, very hilarious.
I was thinking about
the 2017 ESPY is one of my favorites.
I was thinking about a comparison, like what's a comparison to another sport? Tom Brady was Bill Russell. He's the dude with all the championships. Peyton Manning is Wilt Chamberlain. He got a couple championships too, and he put up numbers where you look at them, you go, oh my God. He's like the Wilt Chamberlain. He's like another level of greatness.
Yeah. All right, well deserved. That's all we can say. Props to Peyton Manning. Congratulations. All right, let's keep it moving,
Damien,
gentlemen. The Forbes
fix
list
your shirt
of
a little bit. Looks a little wrinkled and stuff. Just pull
What's
up
that?
the collar a little bit. Make it look a little sharper.
I'm good.
And it's
I'm
a
good.
white shirt.
I'm
and
good.
it's a white shirt, and you're next to Charlie, who's rocking white. I mean,
Yes.
damn. At least try to look like you belong in the same studio.
Well,
At least
listen,
try.
you're not even in the studio.
I'm just saying.
How you going to address me that way? You're not even in the studio.
You can't sit next to Charlie with a wrinkled shirt, looking less than sharp. I'm just saying.
Charlie got me. Okay, she gonna make sure I'm good.
I mean, help the sister out.
I don't need to listen to somebody who all the way in Los Angeles who out there getting facials and everything.
I mean, yeah, it was a little rough. It was a microdermabrasion.
Missing soccer games on a facial.
It really jacked me up bad, but I'm recovering from it. It was a microdermabrasion, Max. I think that's what it was. Microneedling. That's what it was.
Better.
Oh, don't let them get you. They got him. They got him in L.A., Charlie. Damien, they got him. They got him.
All right, guys, let's go. The Forbes list of the most valuable NFL franchises came out, and lo and behold,